सहाय। वार श्री भगवती जी की पातशाही 10वीं। प्रथम भगवती सिमर के गुरु नानक लईते आए, प्रंगत गुर ते अमरदास रामदासा होई सहाय। अर्जुन हरगोबिंद नो सिमरो श्री हर राय, श्री हर कृष्ण ते आइए डिठे सब दुख जाए। तेग बहादुर सिमरिय करनौन दिया वेताए, सब ते होए सहाय। 10वां पातशाह श्री गुरु गोबिंद सिंह साहिब जी सब ते होए सहाय। 10वां पातशाह दी जोत श्री गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी बार की बार का ध्यान करके बोले जी वाह।
वाहिगुरू।
ਪੰਜਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ 40 ਮੁਕਤਿਆਂ ਹੱਠੀਆਂ ਜਪੀਆਂ ਤਪੀਆਂ, ਨਾਮ ਜਪਿਆ ਵੰਡ ਛਕਿਆ ਦੇਖ ਚਲਾਈ ਤੇਗ ਬਾਈ ਦੇਖ ਨਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ। ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਸਚਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਧਰ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਬੋਲੋ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ।
ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਸਿੰਘਣੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਧਰਮ ਹੀ ਸੀਸ ਦਿੱਤੇ, ਬੰਦ ਬੰਦ ਕਟਾਏ ਖੋਪੀਆਂ ਦਹਾਈਆਂ ਚੱਕੀਆਂ ਛੜੇ ਛੜਾਏ ਗਏ। ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਲਈ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀਆਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, ਧਰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਾਰਿਆ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਕੇਸੋਂ ਸੱਸਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਨਿਭਾਈ। ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਧਰ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਬੋਲੋ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ। ਪੰਜਾਂ ਤਖਤਾਂ ਸਪਤ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਧਰ ਕੇ ਬੋਲੋ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ। ਇਹ ਨਿਮਾਣੇ ਦੇ ਮਾਨ ਨਿਤਾਣੇ ਦੇ ਤਾਨ ਲੋਟਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਓਟ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਪਾਰ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ। ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਨੇ ਸੇਵਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਦਮ ਬਖਸ਼ੇ ਹਨ। ਅੱਜ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਲਈ ਇਕੱਠ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ। ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਰ ਹੱਥ ਸੇਵਾ ਸਿਹਤ ਰੱਖਣਾ, ਸਮਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਣਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਸੇਵਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਣੀ। ਜੇ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਵਟਾਂਦਰੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਹਨ, ਆਪ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਹਤ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ। ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਜੋ ਜਬ ਦਰ ਤੇ ਆਵੇ ਸੁਣਾਈ ਜਾਵੇ, ਸਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਮਿਲੋ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਚਿੱਤ ਆਵੇ। ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਾਣੇ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Harvinder, so who all do we have before we get going?
ਹਾਂਜੀ, so far same I think ਅਵਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਰਣਬੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਆਈਜੀ ਸਿੰਘ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ, ਤੇ I think ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਚਰੂ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਆਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨੋਟੀਫਾਈ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, very good. So ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਫਤਿਹ to everyone. So ਅੱਜ I noticed that we are all basically Punjabi speaking as well. ਤੇ ਮੈਂ before we begin ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਸੀਰੀਅਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ। I just got a little joke ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ before we start. ਇਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਆਇਆ ਤੇ ਬੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਹੱਸਿਆ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ। ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਰੋਡਵੇਜ਼ ਦੀਆਂ ਬੱਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ, ਕਈ ਉਹ ਸੇਇੰਗਸ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਫਨੀ, ਤੇ ਇਹ ਸੀ ਇਟ ਸੈਡ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਹੁਕਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਤੇ ਮੰਜ਼ਿਲ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਾ ਦਿਆਂਗੇ। ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਜੇ ਅੱਖ ਲੱਗ ਗਈ ਤੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਾ ਦਿਆਂਗੇ। So on that note, I think we can move on to the more serious things. So I was not
are you in charge of the process?
Well, I'm supposed to be moderating. I'm making an attempt here.
No, like I mean the driver of the roadways, Punjab
yes,
roadways.
The driver, haan ji bilkul waheguru de darshan hopefully kara diye. So since I wasn't here, I'm not sure asi kitho tak pahunche sa, but the fact of the matter is ki the title today, as Harvinder has put out there, is Japji Sahib Pauri 8 part 2. So I take it from there ki aje discussion puri hoi nahi, te main thodi bahut blog padhi si te manu inna andaza hoya ki we have sort of talked about we've dwelt around the word suniai and what it might mean here. Literally, of course, it means by listening or listening. And I think from what I've been able to glean from the blog and what people have written is that more or less everyone has converged onto the idea that suniai here can be understood to mean listening to the Guru's instruction, which a Sikh must follow. Jai Gur ki Sikh suni. And listening, of course, swal and there, listen to what? And I think from what I've been able to understand, everyone is kind of agreed that sunna Guru da shabad hai. So we have to, a Sikh must commune to the Guru's shabad in order to reach a particular goal, which here has been expressed as sada vigas, which I sort of think of as a state of being sort of a bloom, so to speak, where we are kheda jinu kende ne, state of consciousness which Gurmukhs, I believe, who walk in the will, hukum, by listening to the word of the Guru. So, itho tak manu lagda hai, Ravinder Singh, we've had that discussion. Am I sort of right in assuming that, just derived from what the discussion was? Acha, I think we've lost him.
Yeah, I think, can you hear me?
Hanji.
Hanji, I think that's right. I think we go with the word suniye, one round in the panel, and then we cover the first line, suniye Siddh Peer Surnath. If even if you want to start again from the Pauri 8, that may not be a bad idea since like we only covered the one line last time. So unless someone have other interesting thoughts on suniye, we may be able to go to the Pauri.
Okay, so let me open it up to the panel. Does anyone want to add any additional comments or observations around what suniai might mean in this context? Because every line here, the four parties start with suniai. So clearly a lot of emphasis on listening or attentive listening. And it seems to me that the emphasis here on listening suggests that listening holds the key to transformation of the sort that is expected to happen in a Sikh's life. So, would there be somebody who wants to add to this? Last week, jehde nahi aa sake, maybe they want to sort of just make an observation. So, I'll start with you, Uncle Ranveer Singh ji. Would you want to?
मैं पिछले हफ्ते आ नहीं सकिया
हाँ जी
पर मैं कोशिश की स्टडी ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਟਾਪਿਕ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਵੀਂ ਪੌੜੀ ਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਗਾਵੀਏ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਮਨ ਰੱਖੀਏ ਭਾਵ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਛੇਵੀਂ ਪੌੜੀ ਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਮਾਤਰ ਕੀ ਰਤਨ ਜਵਾਹਰ ਮਾਨਿਕ ਜੇ ਗੁਰ ਕੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੁਣੀ ਤੋ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੁਣਨ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੁਣੀ ਦਾ ਕੰਟੈਕਸਟ ਹੈ दूसरा गाविए सुनिए सो क्वेश्चन आ जाता है कि की सुनिए की गाविए ते दूजे पासे है कि गुर की सिख सुनी गुरु की सिक्ख्या सुननी है सो दो बनते हैं गुरु साहब के हुक्म मुताबिक हुण तां जिहड़ियां सत्त पौड़ियां असीं पढ़ियां उन्हां दे मुताबिक ये दो हुक्म बनते हैं सुनिए च फिर तुसीं बड़ा ठीक तरह कहा भी सुनना की हुण तक गुरबाणी ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਤੇ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ 'ਚ ਦੇਖਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤਿੰਨ ਚਾਰ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਲਿਖਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਥਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਨਾਮ ਸੋ ਨਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਸ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਫਿਰ ਦੂਸਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਹਰ ਜਸ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦੇ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਉਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਇਹ इंपॉर्टेंस दी है गुरु साहब ने फिर तीसरी दी है सुनना गुरबाणी फिर नाले भी है कि सुनना की चाहिए ते की सुनना नहीं चाहिए करना सुने काहों की निंदा ये भी उन्होंने लिखा सो किसी का बुरा कोई कहता होवे ओहदा सुनना वो लाभदायक नहीं है फिर गुरु साहब ये भी लिखते हैं कि सुनन दे लाभ की ते ना सुनन दे नुकसान की ये मैं गुरु साहब दे कोर्स इकट्ठे कीते न अब तो मैं हुण तुहाडा वक्त नहीं बहुता लेना चाहता क्योंकि सारे पढ़ के सुनाने लंबी गल हो जाती है पर ये सारे एस्पैक्ट देखने की लोड़ है इस चार पौड़ियां च 8 तो लैके 11 हैगियां ਇਸ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਕੀ ਸੋ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਵਰਤਿਆ ਕਿ ਨਾਮ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦਾ ਜਸ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਲੈਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਉਪਦੇਸ਼ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਪੂਰੇ ਗੁਰ ਕਾ ਸੁਣ ਉਪਦੇਸ਼ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸੁਣਨ ਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਤਿੰਨ ਚਾਰ ਕੈਟੇਗਰੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ
So uncle if I may stop you for a second ਤੁਸੀਂ you're emphasizing ਕਿ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਹੈ which I think is extremely valid so let me throw this at you at the same time सुनने दियां भी शायद कोई there may be multiple modes or multiple ways of listening as well. I mean, do you think there is any consideration given to that sort of a continuum, just like the body-mind continuum? There might be, that listening itself may be a spectrum and not just physical hearing.
ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਬਗੈਰ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੁਣਨਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ
ਜੀ। that's where I'm going, because ਬਗੈਰ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੁਣਨ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ।
that's right. ਸੋ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਈ ਤਰੀਕਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਕਾਂਟੈਕਸਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ 4 ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਲਾਭ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੁਣਨ ਦਾ। ਤੇ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਕੈਟੇਗਰੀਜ਼ ਇੰਡੀਕੇਟ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਸੀ। ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੈਟੇਗਰੀਜ਼ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਨਾਮ ਸੁਣੀਏ, ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦਾ ਜਸ ਸੁਣੀਏ, ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਸੁਣੀਏ, ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਸੁਣੀਏ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਚਾਹੇ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਚਾਹੇ ਬਗੈਰ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ।
So we'll come back to Kanna de Bagair in a little bit. Just let me go to some of the other panel members and see what they are thinking around what you've said. I think what you've said we need to come back to. So I'll reach out to Ajay Singh and ask him if he has any perspective on what was just said, because I'm interested in also the capacity to listen. Because it seems to me that we need to examine that as well in this context.
I think sunna, I look at it beyond the literal meaning of listening or hearing. Mm-hmm. I know that some having eyes see not and some having ears hear not, but it's not that. I think the emphasis is to be open to the creation. Just गाना भी जड़ा है, करना भी जो कुछ, it's not limited to the very precise things to do. In other words, sunna te gana, it's not that. It's be open to the Creator's creation and listen with your heart to all the voices that come within, or all the inputs that you get. I shouldn't even say the voices. Yeah. And I think that's what we talked about.
Okay, so you just use the expression listening with the heart. And that I find interesting. Because
and the heart has no ears.
There you go.
I hate to tell you a bit of anatomy. That's sort of almost a joke. The 2 chambers in which the blood comes in are called auricles. Another place the auricle is your ear that hangs on the side of your ear, on which you have earrings. Mm-hmm. It's an auricle where the sound is heard. So auricles are where things are coming in.
I do appreciate your bringing this out, because I am trying to understand whether or not there is a continuum on the other side. Are there capacities within us, listening capacities, that go beyond just physical?
In other words, how do we process input? Sensory input, how do we get in?
And then also, is sensory input the limit of our hearing, or are there non-sensory inputs? I mean, anhad naad, for example. So we'll continue this. Let me reach out to. I see that Dr. Jaswant Singh is on. Let me go to him for a second.
Yeah, it's an extrasensory perception.
Yeah.
As well.
Hello.
Hanji.
Hanji Birji. I think I would like to agree with Paji Ranbir Singh and what Paji Ajay Singh has said. It makes sense, but a little bit I would like to add on is that still here the suniai is, I mean, what Paji Ajay Singh has said is very meaningful, but I feel that may not be so possible for a very layman or very ordinary person, you know, to hear and then interpret those voices that are coming in, listening through your heart. So here I feel the Guru, when he uses the word suniai, this definitely refers to Makbich Ratan Jawahar Manik Je ek Gur ki Sikh suni. So this is, listening to the Guru, listening to the Guru's teachings, which we can say includes the listening to Harjas, listening to Naam and whatever. So it is, to me, it's very simply listening to Guru's Bani, listening to Guru's teachings. And here the listening is included, listening attentively. And even rather a few days back, I saw a word where from the suniai comes. So that is Sravan. So the gentleman, I was reading an article, he wrote the Sravan actually has its meaning, is not just listening. Sravan means studying. So that to me made a lot of sense, that here also it looks at listening includes whether it is reading, listening, reflecting, and that makes sense like studying something, studying the Guru's teachings. In a sense, understanding the Guru's teachings. And this is where, this listening, attentive listening is going to make a huge change in your perception, in your understanding, in your enlightenment. And these are the benefits and these are the blessings that the Guru Sahib are explaining in these four pauriyan.
Thank you. Thank you for those thoughts. Charan Singh Veerji, do you want to add anything?
Sorry to be a little late today. For me, the questions like suniai, when it is a sihari put on anana, suniai ki ya ki sunna, that's a external listening. And sunai with this, suniai with bihari ki sunna, like we were talking. But sunai with sihari means an internalized listening. And who is that listener who is listening? Sune eh. ਐੜੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੋ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਦੁਲਾਵਾਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ I understand it like ਸੁਣੇ ਇਹ ਸਿੱਧ ਇਹੀ ਪੀਰ ਹੈ ਇਹੀ ਸਿੱਧ ਹੈ ਇਹੀ ਸੁਰ ਦਾ ਨਾਥ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਸੁਣਨਾ that's how I interpret it because ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੋਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਬਾਬਾ ਬੋਲਤੇ ਥੇ ਕਹਾਂ ਗਏ that comes to the same point ਉਹੀ ਸੁਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹੀ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹੀ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੈ ਉਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਫੜਨਾ ਉਹੀ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਅਵਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸੁਣਨ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਇਲੈਂਟ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ According to Albert Mehrabian, author of Silent Messages, the listener perceives 55% of the meaning of the spoken message through gestures and facial expressions.
That's right.
38% is interpreted through tone of voice, speech rate, rhythm, and emphasis. And words transmit approximately 7% of the message. The problem that we have is that there are, let me add two more facts in understanding the word suniai. That in Gurbani, suniai, sun, suna, sune, suniai, suniai, there are 700 applications of the word sun in different forms. We have to sort of look at each and every one in its composite whole component that is used in that very context of that very shabad, of that very sentence. Here, the four stanzas that we are trying to understand, in all of them, including the theme, the word used is suniai. It is not suniai, it is not suno, it is not sunhe, it is not anything else. The only word used in all of those four stanzas is suniai. And suniai, according to Mahakosh, translated in English, is having heard of or about. And these are the words that have been used by Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Now, if we have applied these to the theme and then come back and understand where are they applied and how are they applied, I think we will be able to make more sense of the sentences that we are trying to understand.
Thank you, Ji. So I think what we should do is, I think more or less we get the picture here that attention and listening go hand in hand, that they constitute, as the basis for any kind of change or transformation. But I think let's move on to the lines here in the four Pauris and try and understand these Pauris with a little more depth. So if I may, can we start with the 8th Pauri here at the very start? Harvinder Singh, where were we the last time? Did we do this already? Yeah, pehli line ki thi, you said. Pehli.
Hanji, only the first line, but we can start again, I think.
Okay, so I think let's. So you see, if you look at the Pauri itself, suniai is followed by Siddh Peer Surnath, Tarat Dhaval Akas, Deep Lo Patal, Pohin Sakke Kal, Bhakta Sada Vigas, Suniai Dukh Papkana. So obviously, by paying attention to or by listening whereof, as Sardar Avtar Singh is suggesting, we have a string of words that have their own connotation, Siddh, Peer, Sur, Nath. These are all words that are loaded with meaning in the Indian context. So we need to understand what exactly is being said here. Are we listening to the Siddhs or the Peers or the Surs or the Naths? Or, as is commonly said, that by listening to the Guru's teaching, we can become a Siddh, or we can become a Peer, can become a Sur, and then so on. And Tarat Dhaval Akas. What exactly is being suggested here as a result of suniai? That's what I'd like to open up the discussion to. So I'll come back to you, Uncle Ranbir Singh Ji. We'll go in that particular order. Siddh Peer Surnath. Sunan Nal, Siddh Peer Surnath. How do you take this? What's your take on this?
Actually, एक सज्जन ने बड़ा सोना एक्सप्लेन किया कि सुनिए ग्रामेटिकली मीन्स सुनन दे राही मतलब सुनन दा इफेक्ट हुंदा क्योंकि सियारी है उन्हाने दे नाल जे सुनिए बिहारी हुंदी तो ओदा मतलब होर होना सी ओदा असी सुनिए लेट्स हियर
हां जी
ਇਹਦੇ ਚ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਦਾ बड़ा मेरे माइंड से सिंपल अर्थ है कि सुनन नाल और ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਕਿ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਕੀ ਪਰ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹ ਸੁਣਨ ਦਾ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਚਾਰਾਂ ਪੌੜੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਲਿਸਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਚੰਗੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਜੋ ਚੰਗੇ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਧ ਪੀਰ ਸੁਰਨਾਥ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਕਿ ਬੜੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਲੋਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਮਝੋ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਬਾਣੀ ਸੁਣਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਗਈਆਂ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਧਰਤ ਅਵਲ ਆਕਾਸ਼ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਦੀਪ ਲੋ ਪਾਤਾਲ ਸੁਣੇ ਪੋ ਨਾ ਸਕੇ ਕਾਲ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਲਿਸਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ ਸੁਣਨ ਦੇ ਜੇ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟਸ ਮਿਲਣਗੇ ਸਮਝੋ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬਰਕਤਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਗਈਆਂ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਚਾਰੇ ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਇਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਐਮਫਸਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ
Thank you, Ji. Ajit Singh Ji, any comment on what?
No, let's go on. We'll come back to it.
Okay, Jaswant Singh Ji, would you like to comment on Char Satra bare hun?
Yeah, I think what Pauri has just said, it makes sense, and that's what it is basically. Yep.
ठीक है जी, that's fine. Charan Singh Veer Ji, can we take the 4 lines together because I think the idea is the same.
Yeah.
हाँ जी, चरण सिंह वीर जी.
But don't take the Siddh Peer and Surnath literally.
So would you like to make a comment on the lines or?
No, but don't take those terms literally. It is by listening, by importing these things within you, you will become the wise and so on.
Yes. Yes.
So now help me, when you say don't take these literally, what are you suggesting?
In other words, it's not going to make you a peer, and don't set up shop as a peer.
But you will become like a peer?
You will have the good qualities within you that you admire so much and think of in peers and siddhas and so on.
So would we safely say then that really this is speaking to an elevated sort of consciousness?
Yes, it will elevate you.
Yes,
that's right.
Okay.
It will elevate you like all the elevated minds that you admire in life.
And
Gotcha.
Can I ask a question?
Hanji.
So, what are the qualities or the attributes of Siddh, Peer, Surnath? So, if someone can explain, like we kind of gain the virtues of all these four kind of people. So, what are the virtues in question here?
Does anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I'm willing to.
Hanji, uncle.
ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਕਈ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਚੰਗੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਮਾੜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਇਟ ਡਜ਼ਨਟ ਮੀਨ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਸਿੱਧ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਪੀਰ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਈਵਨ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਸ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਟ ਜਸਟ ਮੀਨਸ ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟਸ ਬੜੇ ਹੈ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਪਿਰਿਚੁਅਲੀ ਐਲੀਵੇਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਸਮਝ ਆਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦੀ ਸਮਝ ਆਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਲਿਸਟ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਦੇ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟਸ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਔਰ ਕਨਸੀਕੁਐਂਸਸ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਿੱਧ ਪੀਰ ਸੁਰਨਾਥ ਜਿਸ ਅੱਗੇ ਇੱਕ ਸੱਜਣ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਵਾਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਸਮਝ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਲਿਖੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਸਮਝੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਰਾਮਾਤਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਸਮਝੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਸਮਝੋ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਬੇਮੈਨੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਾਣੀ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦੀ ਮਹਿਮਾ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਨਾਮ ਜਪ ਕੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਉਸ ਉੱਤੇ ਚਲਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ
those good qualities become part of your life
ਸਾਰੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਥੀ ਕੇ ਪੈਰ ਮੇਂ ਸਭ ਕਾ ਪਾਉ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ so Harvinder just my own 2 cents worth here ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ context is very important so context ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਵਿਚਰ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੱਧ ਬਣਨਾ ਪੀਰ ਬਣਨਾ ਸੁਰ ਬਣਨਾ ਇਹ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਕੈਟੇਗਰੀਜ਼ ਨੇ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਸਟੇਜਸ ਨੇ ਵੈਨ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਸਿੱਧ ਵੀ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਸਿੱਧੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਿੱਧੀਆਂ ਲਿਸਟਡ ਨੇ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਯੋਗੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਰਸਿਊ ਕਰਦੇ ਸਨ these were obviously very popular and attractive paths to people right so ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਨੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ it seems to me ਤੇ I think what Baba Ji is saying is ਕਿ ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਸੁਣਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ you will as we have said get to an elevated state of consciousness anyway where ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਗਰ ਦੌੜਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹੀ
that will transform you
ਹਾਂਜੀ it will transform you otherwise ਸਿੱਧ ਪੀਰ ਸੁਰਨਾਥ ਸਿੱਧੀ ਵਾਲਾ ਪੀਰ is a Musliman ਮਤਲਬ use ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ word it's kind of equivalent to equal in my sort of understanding and Surat and Nath are just gradations as far as I can tell. So let me go to Dr. Jaswant Singh. Anji Jaswant Singh, Virji, do you want to comment on the composite lines here?
No, I think what you have just said, that really makes sense. They said the peace or not, they are all just for the sake of reference. Because in those times, they were the people, those who were looked on, you can say, as an ideal, or people like very spiritual, or people like very religious, and even to an extent having some occult powers and so on. So people used to admire them. So they were the ideals of the society in those times. So Guru Sahib is just suggesting that through listening to the Guru's teaching and of course understanding and adopting that in your life, you will have all those capabilities in you and rather you will transcend, all this that you're looking for.
And I might add very quickly that, last line de which kind of end state ਦੱਸੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਸਦਾ ਵਿਗਾਸ
yes
okay that is probably the Sikh ideal here ਸਦਾ ਵਿਗਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਣਾ which I understand to mean being in a state, being in a creative state, so to speak, sort of always sort of flowering. Actually,
Yes.
let me go to Dr. Avtar Singh and see if he wants to say anything. Virji, do you want to comment on the 4 lines together that we are discussing?
Anji. Virji, again, I will emphasize on the theme, Nanak Bhaktan Sada Vigas, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji, as you have pointed out, that at that time was dealing with the prevalent religious philosophies or religious maneuvers that were going on, including siddhas, peers, naths, and all that. And in all the previous pauris that we have read, Guruji also referred to those mythologies or philosophies, if you want to call it. And having referred to those, in most of the shabads, as we know, as I know also, that Guruji has put an inquiry. And then he also given the solution for all that with a conclusive statement. And that's what I am understanding from it and taking from this Pauri and the others, where Guruji has used this theme in all 4 Pauris, Nanak Bhaktan Sada Vigas, then why is Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying that if you listen to these siddhas, if you listen to the peers, or if you listen to the naths, that you will get the bliss? Or Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying that Bhagats are always in bliss. They are forever in bliss because they have more than just listening to all these peers and all the naths and everybody else. And that's what Guruji is talking about. And
thank you very much for that insight. I see that Eileen has joined us. Eileen ji, do you have any comment to make, or do you have a question that you want to ask?
Guruji ka Khalsa, Guruji ki Fateh. Thanks for inviting me. I do have a question about the Vigas, because as I was looking at it, I was understanding it to mean joyful. And what's interesting to me and kind of confusing, but maybe I'm getting a sense of it, is the different qualities that you are achieving as you are listening attentively. As you're, suniai, you get joy. Suniai, you erase your pain and agony and things like this. And I'm wondering if, some other level is being implied here besides sort of, self-help in a way, something deeper, some kind of a deeper connection, and I'm trying to explore that. So I don't know if it's in that word itself, Vigasu, or if it's maybe it's just implied.
Does anyone want to take that question? We have no takers, Eileen, so we will just have to park it for the moment.
Okay.
Unless somebody else wants to comment on this Pauri in a composite form, let me move on to the next Pauri, number 9, as well as the one after that and the 11. So the real issue here is, I think the thing to understand, it seems to me, because all 4 are speaking about listening, by listening. It's describing the impact of that particular attentive listening. It may make sense for us to kind of understand what this listing here really means, because he speaks about Siddh Peer Surnats, but then he also talks about Tarat Daval Akas, Deep Lopa Kal, Pohan Asake Kal, and then he goes to say Nanak Bhaktan Sada Vigas. In all 4 Pauris, he's following the same pattern. Perhaps it might be useful for us to take these 4 collectively and speak to what exactly is being, what is implied here, what meaning might be associated with these concepts? You know, pohe na sake kal, meaning defying death in some ways. What might that mean? Tarat dawal akas, what does that mean? Does that mean you get an understanding of the physical and the nether world around you? I would like to sort of go there a little bit, and I'm going to go to Ajit Singh to start that particular discussion. What's your take?
Well, I said that he's talking about a transformation in Suniai. So he's also talking about, now in this line, he's talking about things that are normally mysterious to us. Tart, Tawal, Akas, the reality of our existence, the earth and sky, and the supporting system. In other words, you will develop an intuitive understanding of these, or be at peace with them, be accepting of them, something of that kind of transformation. So Vigas here refers to a transformational being. It's not necessarily a pleasure or pain or happiness or not happiness or whatever. Those things will occur, but you will be at peace with them.
I want you to hold your thought for just 1 second, because you use the word intuitive. Yes. And I want to latch onto that for a second. So, based on what you're saying, would it be fair to say that he's also suggesting another mode of comprehending things that are mysterious to you? That it is not the cognitive process that involves the intellect isn't the only way to grasp these things? Do you think that is where he's going with all of this? A more intimate existence with the world around you? Or a coexistence, if you will?
Because normally, we do live in a state of conflict.
Yes.
Of our inner life with the life around us, the external life around us.
Indeed.
To a certain degree, lesser or greater, depends on circumstances. And what I think he's saying is that by listening, it will change you so that you will be at peace with the world and the reality of it. And that's what I mean by an intuitive.
No, I do appreciate that thought. I think that we perhaps don't pay enough attention to the fact that there are other ways of hearing again.
Learning. Not all learning comes from books, and not all learning comes from
precisely. That is really where I was going. Thanks a ton. I like that thought, and I want to push that a little further by reaching out to Uncle Ranbir Singh.
And I would say to you that an intuitive process is important even in what you consider the most cerebral process in life, like doing research, for instance. There's a certain intuitive process of understanding and proceeding and opening doors in research.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just as a thought, I mean, now that you've mentioned this. Yeah, I mean, I often think of the fact that Guru Nanak has referred to himself as a singer, a tadi. He's also referred to himself as a poet. And these are qualities of an artist as opposed to a scientist, right? And I was dwelling on this, and I'm thinking out aloud so that the others might comment on this. And I was saying to myself, the difference is that in science, the methodology is sort of very well established. Here, the artist is creating something, and at the end of the day, he doesn't really know how he's creating it. It's intuitive to him.
But Ravinder, having lived as a scientist all my life, I can say to you that the best science also needs an artist's touch in it, otherwise that becomes mechanics.
Thank you.
And the best artist needs the scientist's methodology and organization in it, otherwise it becomes chaos.
I think where I was going with this was that the artist, or at least within the context of what we are talking about, replication isn't quite as simple as a scientific experiment.
But then do need both.
So you do need to sort of cultivate your own intuitive abilities. Okay, not to dwell too much on this. Uncle Ranbir Singh ji, I mean, do you want to share any comment on this?
मैं इन्ना ही कहना चाहना, मेरे ख्याल बड़े सियाने बंदे ने ऑलरेडी इस पे कमेंट किया है। नानक भगतां सदा विगास, सुनिया दुख पाप का नास। ये रिफ्रेन है चारों पौड़ियां विच ਤੇ ਇਹਦੀ ਮੀਨਿੰਗਸ ਬੜੇ ਡੀਪ ਹੈਗੇ ਔਰ ਸਾਰਾ ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਦੁੱਖ ਪਾਪ ਕਰਨਾ ਬੜੀ ਕੰਪਰੀਹੈਂਸਿਵ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਿ ਸੁਣਨ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਛਾ ਸੁਣਨ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਸਿਰਫ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸੁਣ ਛੱਡਣਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਮੰਨਣਾ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਬਾਅਦ 4 ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਮੰਨਣ ਤੇ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਨ ਚੋਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਦੂਜੇ ਕੰਨ 'ਚ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਬਚਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਮਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਐਬਜ਼ਾਰਬ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਤੇ ਦੁੱਖ ਪਾਪ ਦਾ ਨਾਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ ਦੁੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਾਪਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਸ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਇਹ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਸਟੇਟ ਹੈ ਬੰਦੇ 'ਚ ਦੁੱਖ ਪਾਪ ਨਾਸ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਤੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਮੁਕਤ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਬਾਕੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਅਨਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਸੱਜਣਾ ਨੇ ਵੀ
Haji, uncle, can you, since we have Eileen on board and she doesn't quite understand Punjabi.
Yeah, I can speak in English. Guru Sahib, in all these bodies, uses the common refrain, Suniai dukh paap ka naas. And what happens is, if we listen to Gurbani and we absorb it in our hearts, then our dukh, our pain and our failings, paap, they are destroyed. And if they are destroyed, that means we are get above Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar. And we attain a higher spiritual stage, like Dr. Ajay Singh very nicely explained. And that stage is far above all these other descriptions that Guru Sahib says, Siddh Pir Surnath and Tarat Taval Akas, they do have some meaning. Tarat is earth, Taval is support of the earth, Akas is the sky. In another context, Guru Sahib uses Tarat for humility. And again, when we talk of Panch Tat, we talk of Tarat as the solid. And then Akash can be used as radiation or ether or whatever. So there are different meanings. But Guru Sahib appears to tell me as a person that these things don't matter. And the knowledge of Tartav Lakas, and knowledge of Deep Lo Patal, it doesn't matter, because what is much more important and supreme in our life is to become Jivan Mukt. And that's what, for starting part of that is Suniai. Because once
so basically, what you're saying is what Ajay Singh just said a little while ago, that intuitive experience of the world around you so that you're in less conflict with it.
That's right.
ठीक है जी. Charan Singh Veer ji, you've been quiet for a while.
I'm sorry I got disconnected, but I'm still not very clear whether we are discussing Suni or Suna, because all the time we revert back to external listening. Gurbani hai, jan harjas hai, jan gana hai, jan sunna hai, jan surroundings, whatever is surrounding us, we are trying to relate our listening to the surroundings. Whereas from my perspective, this is the one who, in this body, the one who is talked about is actually the listener in us. That's the listener addressed here, and that listener is very attentive listener, because if we take Siddh Pir Surnath and we are trying to bring 500-year concepts, it is not relevant today. So who is Siddh in today's word? Who is Pir? Who is Sur? Who is Nath in today's word? Let's reflect on that. Do we find people like that? Yes or no? If yes, then who are those? And what are their characteristics? That's where, when we dwell a little more on that, we find that the listener inside us is all that is discussed in these 4 bodies. That listener is Sat, that listener is Santokh, that listener is Siddh, that listener is the Naam. And we have to converge into us to get connected with that naam. That's how I feel. And all the time, if you all notice, you listen to your own conversation, and you would find that there is a slip. While we are discussing, we read like suniai, suniai, suniai comes to us because we have heard suniai as more dominant word, and that's what flows through us. Whereas the word is suniai, suniai, and then adenu do lawa, suniai. So that's what my take is.
Thank you, Vijay. What you say makes perfect sense, but I want to make sure that when we discuss these verses, that we are trying to also at the same time sticking to the context of the lines under consideration. So I think I will reach out to Jaswant Singh Ji to elaborate. I mean, Suniai has a certain meaning and context within these 4 verses. So let's sort of try and stay true to them. But I appreciate what you're saying.
Clarify one thing. I just want to clarify one thing. The thing is, it is our understanding when we take external sources into consideration, we find a different meaning. When we take only Gurbani into consideration, the meanings are totally different. So my request is that we should explore Gurbani, digging deep into the Gurbani rather than the external source, whatever external sources or dictionaries or tikas or perspectives are available. We should not try to rely more on them, but verify those meanings of those particular words, and that will change the context. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Your point is well made, but I think that for many of us, the words are not that self-evident, that we might have to rely on dictionaries first before we get to the inner meaning of these words. So that's where, so I want to make sure that we are all agreed that we have taken the meaning of the word suniai here to mean what it means here before we proceed. So Jaswant Singh Ji, do you have a comment on that?
I think I would like to agree with you what you have just said now. And also, I mean, if we look at what Padi has said about that we need to look from the Gurbani, so still, I mean, if you look at the word suniai and you go and find out other similar words, so you can see sevai, japai, you know, all those kind of words there. And in all the places, if I say even 100%, so there will be no even exceptions, that they all, at all the places, they simply mean through listening or by doing so. So I don't think that there is any way that you can split the word as son plus a or something like that.
Thank you, Ji. Avtar Singh Ji,
I listened
input?
to Veer Charan Singh Ji very carefully, and the understanding of the Shabads through Gurbani, from Gurbani, inside Gurbani is a wonderful idea. But just look at the lines that we are trying to understand right now. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is not focusing just on Gurbani and its devotees. Look at Siddh, Peer, Sarnath. How far Guru Nanak Dev Ji is going into different other religious philosophies. He's going way out to make us understand the crux and the essence of Siddh Peer, of Nanak Bhaktan Sadavigas. That to make us understand that, he is using the examples way out of various other religious philosophies. And in that regard, yes, we do need to go outside of our limited knowledge about the Gurbani for the time being, and then use those outside sources to make us understand under the present circumstances where we are living and trying to make sense of. In that regard, it will be wonderful that if we can make use of all the extra or external resources to make sense to not only us, but to our youths who are dealing every day in their life with the present knowledge, and circumstances. And they're living in this environment. So please,
thank you, Ji. Thank you, much appreciated. Now, we have about 8 minutes left, and we, I think, are trying to look at the four parties together because the central idea is the same, although there are references to all kinds of different things here. How does the panel want to proceed? Does the panel feel that we've had a sufficient discussion on the suniai parties, or is there, obviously there's a lot to be left said, but can we move forward to the maniai parties, or does somebody have any extra? So I'll just open it up to whoever wants to speak. I see Dr. Ij Singh appearing on my screen. Does that mean he wishes to say something?
I didn't know what my wishes were, but now that you say it, I will do so. You see, when you look at Bani, Gurbani, don't look at it without the context of the culture in which it was elaborated. You know, so the examples that the gurus would use would have to be real life examples. That's why the Bhagtan Sada Nivas, Vigas, the Siddh Pir Surnath, the example ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ, these were the people admired in that culture in that time. So they may have no relevance today. Now we might talk of different eggheads that appear on television all day, perhaps occupying a similar position. But that's not the issue. We have to translate that to our reality today. So when we look at the meaning, that's what we need to do. So he's really talking about the fact that if you are open, if your faculties are open, I don't mean just your ears, if your faculties are open to the stimuli that come in, to the knowledge that will come in, it will make you like the Surnath and the Peers and so on. It will make you a wiser human being, more at peace with yourself in Vigas. And to me, that is the summary of the four Shabads, four parties.
Thank you.
Open to the experiences that will shape you, and the easiest way to do that is through the message of the Guru.
Thank you, thank you, Uncle Ranveer Singh Ji. Last comments on the four parties here, because I think
I agree with Dr. Ij Singh, and the only thing I can add to it is, like I said earlier, just hearing or listening is not enough. And that's why Guru Sahib has put these 8 parties, 4 on suniai and 4 on maniai.
But you would agree that the reason we have suniai first is because that is foundational.
Yeah, actually, I'm quoting from Guru Granth Sahib. I have that verse right in front of me. And Guru Sahib says in Nat Mahla Chautha, Har Kirat Kal Yugvit Uttam मत गुरमत कथा पजंती जिन जन सुनी मणि है जिन जन तिस जन के हों कुर्बानंती हरकत कथा का जिन रस चाख्या तिस जन सब सुख लहंती. So I think this Guru Ramdas ji explains this very well, that in Kal Yug Har Kirat is most important, and Har Kirat Kal Yug vich uttam मत गुरमत कथा पजंती जिन जन सुनी मणि है जिन जन. It goes together. This jan ke hoon kurbananti. Blessed are those who have listened to Gurbani and have understood it and man vich vasai hai. And then har akat katha ka jin ras chakhya. This jan sab sukh sab pukh lahanti. And that all their hunger is gone, once they have listened to, they've tasted the Gurbani. And I think that really tells us everything about these 4 parties.
Ravinder, can I add one sentence in answer to what you said?
Sure.
The suniai has to come first before the maniai does.
Yeah.
Because first you've got to import that sensory and extrasensory input within you.
Mm-hmm.
before you can integrate that yourself.
Precisely. Sure.
And Mania is integrating it.
Sure. Sure.
And Ravinder Singh ji,
Haji.
can I say something?
Haji, Harvinder Singh ji, I'm sorry I keep omitting you from the discussion somehow.
No, I think it's good. I think so far excellent. So I was searching word suniai in Gurbani on the Khoj Gurbani side. It looks like this word comes out in 9 shabads in Gurbani in 36 times, and always this shabad come with either naam suniye, nae suniye, and naam hai suniye. So basically all other lines in different shabads always have word nae or naam in front of this word in other except this first a few bodies. So it looks like it was like pretty much we can, if we have to search from Gurbani, we can say that the reference here is mostly on the naam suniye. And the second thing I wanted to say was that should we just at least go on other 9, 10, 11 bodies, or we feel that the message is exactly the same, that it is also talking about different other characteristics or virtues, but the main lines remain the same, last 2 lines, Nanak Bhakta Sada Vigas, Suniye Dukh Paap Ka Naas. So,
as has been said here by various people, that is the refrain, which means that is the central sort of pivot
idea
to which we come back. It's the central idea. So to me, at least, it seems like there wouldn't be much served by pausing at every line, because I can almost be assured that we will get back into this discussion around Suniai again and again. And I think we've all said sufficient sort of about Suniai.
okay,
Let me go to Jaswant Singh Virji for any final comments that he might want to make.
Can I ask one thing?
Haji.
I think if we are going one last round for the panel, let's focus on then the word that Eileen asked, Vigas. So what kind of Vigas are Guru Nanak Dev Ji referring? So if you have to go last round in panel, we can focus on the main message at least.
Okay, so let me just revert back to Jaswant Singh Ji, and can you please start with your sense of what the word Vigas means and in English, so that Eileen can benefit?
Okay, Vigas, I mean, if you look back to etymology, so literally Vigas is, you can say, modified from Hindi and Sanskrit, Vikas, which literally means development. So it's a kind of elevation, whereby your mentally and spiritually you are elevated to an extent that whereby you transcend this dukh and paap. And I would also like to add on that we should not take it that dukh and paap are going to be physically removed. They may not. The idea here is that the person starts living in such an elevated state of mind where he is always in vikas, always in chardi kala that we call sometimes, and he is able to balance, or you can say, or he is able to transcend the sufferings and the pains and the sorrows and the sins or the vices that we commonly face in our lives.
That's right. Thank you, Ji. Thank you, Viji Charan Singh Ji. One last round comments.
Yeah, I'm not very comfortable explaining it because I have not fully researched and found the meaning. I will post my comments on the blog, and I do apologize. I'm not comfortable explaining without getting into research. But my question quickly to Jaswant Viji is that there are places where Sune only, Sun Jiva Teri Bani. This has come with the Sihari on Nana. The challenge which I am facing with the current explanations are that we are following the Adshid that has been done 75, 80 years back. And that's how our whole notion of understanding Gurbani has an inbuilt bias. So I would appreciate in case members could more research into the meaning at a deeper level, where this whole 4 bodies are only and only related to the Naam. These bodies are just Naam focused, and Sad, Surnath, and all these words which we find relate to the external word. Yes, they might be, but to me they are all about the Naam, characteristics of the Naam. Thank you, Ji.
Thank you, Ji. Vicharan Singh Ji, I don't think that there is any question about Naam here. We've all agreed that Ki Sunna, it is Naam. It is all about Naam, which will then, then transform you or transmute you or elevate you, however you want to look at it. And then follows the impact follows. With that said, let me move to Sardar Avtar Singh Ji for his final comments. Hanji Ji, you have about a minute to.
Just one sentence. Effective listening with open mind is lot more comforting and satisfying. That's about it.
Thank you, Ji. Eileen, I know that I haven't sort of circled back to you, but would you like to sort of finish the discussion with a final thought?
No, that explanation was extremely helpful because I think I didn't want to take the meaning superficially, and so I thought there was something else about that word that was meaningful there. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, very good. And I think we're just about out of time. Thank you very much to everyone who's participated. And we will then move on to the Mane Pauriyan, which from next week. कदों मिल रहे हैं ਅਸੀਂ यार हरविंदर सिंह?
हाँ जी, next Wednesday 9 बजे 9 o'clock.
की तरीक है? 3 तरीक है उਦੋਂ?
हाँ जी, 3 तरीक,
3rd of September, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you all then. Thank you very much again for an enlightening discussion. Vaisakhi ka Khalsa, Vaisakhi ki Fateh.